Please listen carefully.
Gathered the afternoon into my glass. I got a hunch.
Welcome to Clubmen 1645, and today we're in Somerset and we're at Marshall Elm. Now we're in Marshall Elm in 1645 on June the 2nd. There was a big rendezvous of clubmen in this area and there was up to 5,000 to 6,000 of them. But it's extremely windy up here. I want to show you Dundon Hill over my right shoulder on your left, which is an ancient hill fort. Now maybe that rendezvous was there.
Yep.
Got it?
Yep.
And on my left over your right shoulder is Lyover Hill. Now these areas are wooded now, but maybe they weren't at the time, because that was an ancient hill fort and maybe that was clear. And you know the pattern with the club when they sort of met at old places of ancient hill forts. So maybe 6,000 of them rendezvous there. But we're not going to talk too much up here because it's so windy, isn't it?
It is.
So we're trying to find some shelter and talk about exactly what happened here on June the 2nd in 1645. Just a quick note why we're here is the when was the last one seen? 15th of June. So the large blue butterfly has been reintroduced into this area. So well worth a visit. What's the name of this hill we're still on, Sheila?
Collard Hill.
This is Collard Hill. So the large blue butterfly has been reintroduced on Collard Hill. Right, we're still on Collard Hill, and behind me are the Poldon Hills. And in front of me, where we've just left, is Marshall's Elm, and that's where the club met in 1645 on the 2nd of June. We're not going to stay up here today because it's so windy.
It is.
And we're getting sheltered here by this tree, but we'll think we go to the church, which is just down the road there. Should we visit that church?
Yeah, there might be some.
You can normally find some little bits of information in those churches which you can't find in history books. So I think we'll drive out that way because it's too windy up here today. And we didn't see a large blue butterfly, but we did talk to the lady from the National Trust, and she said she's seen 4 today. So there you go, the large blue butterfly on Collard Hill. Right, we've gone off that hill and we're at Dundon Church, and here is an ancient yew which is very old, but we're going to talk here about the clubmen who met on the hill, Holden Hill, opposite us back in 1645. Here we are in St Andrew's Church at Compton in Dundon, and there's a rather nice map on the wall here, and it tells you about the royalist troops which routed the Roundhead troops back in the 2nd of August 1642, so very early on in the English Revolution. One of the first skirmishes would have been in 1642 between those two opposing sides, and it's got Collard Hill there, which we've just been up on, and it's rather windy, and that's why we're down here in this church, because we're going to talk about the clubmen which also met at Marshall Elm in 1645 on the 2nd of June and did a petition to the Prince of Wales and to hand into him at Wales, that's Wales in Somerset, on the same day. So what we'll do is we'll pan out from this map, and we'll pan around here just to look at this yew tree plaque, which tells you the age of the plant. How old is that yew tree?
So the yew tree out the front is 1,700 years old.
So 1,700 years old. And that's the map. I'll get a steal of this map to put up on the website. But there you go, at Compton Dundon, near the Polden Hills. Worth a trip out here just to enjoy the Polden Hills and hunt for that large blue butterfly. So welcome to Clubmen 1645. And yes, we're in Somerset and we're in Dundon now. We're outside St Andrew's Church and we're in Dundon Compton, aren't we?
Compton Dundon.
Compton Dundon even. And behind me is Dundon Hill.
Yes.
Which is the ancient hill fort, and I think the clubmen met back there on June the 2nd, 1645, because they had a thing for ancient hill forts, and maybe it wasn't wooded like it is now, but maybe it was. But anyway, we're at front of St Andrew's Church here because it was so windy on Collard Hill, and we should talk about the petition, because on June the 2nd, 1645, there were 6,000 clubmen met at Marshall Elm, and put a petition together to give to the Prince of Wales in Somerset. And we have some information about that petition just here. And what I shall do, I shall read a bit about Clarendon's history of the rebellion, because it starts off here. It says the 2nd of June, a petition was delivered to him, that's the Prince of Wales, which had been agreed upon that day at Marshall's Elm, where there had been assembled 5,000 or 6,000 men, most in arms, and the petitioners were appointed to attend the next day at Bridgewater for an answer. It was evident, though, the void ground for the rising was the intolerable oppression, raping and violence exercised by Lord Goring's horse. So yes, Goring was in this area in Somerset, and we know what a sort of cad he was. And obviously Taunton and Bridgewater and Fairfax was coming into the county now. This is really early on, it's June the 2nd. It's obviously the Dorset Clubmen's petition was in May, but there was another Somerset petition by the people here back in the start of July, I think. But we'll talk about a bit more of that when we talk about Taunton. But there's another little bit I want to talk about, which says here, and this is from the something else I've delved out the history books, and it says in 1645 the Prince of Wales, being at Wales, received there a petition from some thousands of clubmen, most in arms, armed as well as they could, and wearing as evidence of their membership white ribbons in their hats and coats. Their complaint was the raping and violence of the King's troops, and the Prince's reply actually to that petition was he was very disapproving of it. He didn't like people assembling in these spots without warrant, and he frowned upon it, and he thought they were being infiltrated by bad people who were leading them astray. So that's about it really. I don't actually know what, because Rule 10 of that petition was the order that a constant watch should be kept in every parish and night, and Rule 11 was that the watchman should give a whoop away to call his neighbours together. So I don't actually know what hoop away means.
No, some sort of cry, obviously, I suppose.
So it was a ring of the bell, a shout or whatever,
yes,
And Rule 13 was provided that all who heard the hoop and did not attend should suffer for it. So if you're not replying to a hoop, you're in trouble. Anyway, keep an eye on the Clubmen website, Clubmen 1645, work in progress. And yes, We're in Somerset. She just wants me to mention exactly where we are. And we're in front of St Andrew's Church, which we've just been inside. And over there is Collard Hill, where we've just been, where it's very windy.
It was.
And that's just up the road from Marshall Elm.
Lots of blue butterflies.
Yep. And behind me there is Dundon Hill, which is the ancient hill fort. And these are all part of the Poldens in Somerset. And we should really mention the Duke of Monmouth, because in 1685 the clubmen rose again on the Polden Hills. So that's the clubmen in the Civil War, 1645, and the clubmen again in 1685 in Somerset, which joined the Duke of Monmouth's army. And he led them into Bridgewater, wearing a white apron. So there you go. Keep an eye on the website, Clubmen 1645, work in progress. Right, here we are outside St Andrew's Church at Dundon,
Compton Dundon.
Compton Dundon, and behind me is
Dundon Hill.
Dundon Hill, and we've come here because we're at the wind. It was on Collard Hill. It was so windy up there, so we've come here because it's a bit more sheltered. But yes, on June the 2nd in 1645, there was a large meeting of 5,000 to 6,000 clubmen at Marshall's Elm, which is that way. And that's my phone. I wanted to show you Dundon Hill, which is right behind me, over my right shoulder to your left, which is an ancient hill fort. It's wooded now. And Ludlow, is that Ludlow, isn't it?
Lullover.
Lullover, that's Lullover Hill over that way. Over my left shoulder on your right. And the South Downs are all around us here.
Not the South Downs, no, the Somerset levels.
That's it, the Somerset level. See, I haven't left Dorset and I'm or Hampshire, and I'm still talking about the South Downs.
We're in Somerset.
We're in Somerset, yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about.